And welcome to We've Got Nothing, episode number 11, one louder, as they said in Spinal Tap. This goes to 11. I'm Francis Leach. You don't know what that is, Bianca,
I've
do
got
you?
no idea.
Bianca Chatfield.
Hi, I'm Craig Harper. Hi, chatters.
Are we starting up how we finished last week? With
Where-
me feeling like I'm the
You
dumbest
haven't...
person
Hang
in
on,
the
hang on.
world.
Let's
I
go,
don't
let's
know
go
that.
around the table here.
Yeah.
Let's just do this. Hands up who's seen the greatest rock and roll spoof movie of all time, Spinal Tap. Who are you people? What's going on? What do you mean you haven't seen Spinal Tap?
I've not even heard of it.
Oh,
I've heard of it.
How old is it?
70s.
Oh,
early 80s?
well,
it's,
early
a,
80s?
it's a classic. Rob Reiner directed it. Rob did all sorts of great films.
Don't know who that is either.
Christopher Guest. Don't you know,
Again.
don't you know the
No.
guys that did Rake Like the Wind and the funny dog Best in Show?
Welcome
and-
back to Francis's really old .com. This week on Reminiscing with Francis.
Spinal Tap.
How'd you cope with the election on the weekend, Frankie?
Well, it was fascinating, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. It's still, in fact, by
Still
the time
is.
you see this, there might be a new government.
There
There
will
may
be.
not be.
I'm sure. Well, we're recording this on a Friday. What's your... well, it's going to be...
Turnbull government, slim majority, relying on Crazy Bob as on the crossbench there.
Crazy.
Crazy Bob Catter.
Hello,
Mad as
you,
a
Bob.
catter. Morning, Bob. Yeah, it's been interesting. Well, I have to declare a vested interest. My family is involved with the Labor Party, so we've had an interesting couple of weeks.
Yeah.
My son was in Queensland running a campaign in the seat of Longman and had a famous victory there, unseating the
That's
sitting
awesome.
Liberal National Party member,
I saw young Dylan all
Achieving-
over social media.
Yeah.
achieving a 10% swing in that seat, so that was good for him.
How does one become a campaign manager? Is there a course?
He's a faceless man of the Labor Party.
He's
He's one of the faceless men.
These days you can't be faceless. Nobody's faceless in 2016.
Oh, he's involved with the Labor Party and he's learned how to run campaigns, I guess. That's
Does
what
he love it? Like, is this like the highlight for him?
It was good to win, yes.
Yeah.
That was not one they expected to win, not a seat they expected to win.
Right.
But
Would this put him in demand? Would he become a sought-after campaign manager, or
Well, I think he already is because he was asked to go up there to do this one. 'cause
Right.
He's run a couple of here in
Oh, yeah.
Melbourne previously. So,
So it's a bit more cred then.
Yeah,
underneath.
but to win
that
the
would
seat
seem
was
to be
big.
very young to be doing. That would seem a big responsibility.
here's the
What is he? 26 or
27, 28? Here's the shock, though. When you go to Parliament House in Canberra, and this is, I think, part of the problem with politics in this country, is that a lot of the people who work for politicians across all parties are very, very young with limited life experience. So a lot of their advisors and people that they have working on their staff are extremely young, possibly because the jobs are so all-consuming and time-demanding that you couldn't probably be, say, for instance, on a parliamentary staffer's staff, like a
Yeah.
minister's staff, unless you committed 7 days a week, 24/7.
Yeah.
But I think that comes at a cost. It's a lot of young people who are very bright, but with limited life experience. I don't think that helps. But well done, Dill. He did a great job.
well done, son. I wonder what he'll be doing when he's 30. I wonder if he'll be doing more of the same, or he will have stepped away from that and be exploring other things.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's got
Does
an...
he love it? Like, was it?
Yeah, he does.
an
He's
awesome
committed
weekend
to it.
for him?
Oh,
Like,
was
he
it
just-
8 weeks he was up there working on that one? So, yeah.
Do you think about your life in those terms, as in what will I be doing when I'm 35? What will I be doing when I'm 40?
No, not really.
You just
Should I
kind
be?
of, not necessarily. I mean, if right now you're pretty calm and content and pretty happy, probably not.
Yeah. No,
Probably
I don't
not.
really.
I'm like you. When someone says, have you got what do you want to do in 5 years? I go, God, I don't know what I'm going to be doing in 5 days.
I'm not sure about Sunday, so don't ask me
Yeah.
about 2021.
And it just adds all this stress if your expectations are like 5 years in advance.
I think you know what I think, that it's different depending on your circumstance. Like, you two both are high achievers. You're both doing stuff you love. You both got a profile. You're both successful, and you both like what you do. So I think it's different.
Yeah, fair
If you're putting, with all due respect to people who work in factories, if you're in a factory putting labels on cans, going, I hate my life, I hate my job, I don't want to be here, but you've got no even thought of an exit strategy or some kind of alternate plan or life, then maybe it's time to rethink.
Yeah.
You know, hit the pause button. But, you know...
What are you going to do? What are you going to do in 5 years?
Just more of the same. I like what I do. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if this is as good as my life gets, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But I'd like to do what I do, but just with more people.
You sound a bit sick over there, Craig.
A little bit snotty.
What's
Got
going
man
on?
flu's hit him hard.
You just stay.
Hit
You
him
just
hard.
stay over that side. But you know what? How quick does it come on? I did Tuesday night radio, and I was fine. And literally half an hour after I got home, I started sneezing, and I woke up in the middle of the night with my whole. I don't know if you ever had this. All of my teeth, top and bottom, aching.
Oh, yeah.
Like I had not a toothache. I had 40 toothaches.
Yeah.
Or teethache. And I either needed to go and have a hot shower to make my face hot to take away the pain, or go and get a
A
heat
towel
pack.
for your hanky.
Talk
Can
to
you
us
show,
about your hanky.
show us what's on your lap,
'cause
Craig?
I was
Stop
quite
it.
disgusted
You're
when
as
I
bad
walked
as
in.
you're as bad as her.
I'm just teeing Bianca up because she's quite mortified.
I'm quite mortified by this
Have a look
hanky.
at- have a
I'm
look.
not
Have a
going
look.
to.
No, just
Oh,
show it.
here
Just
we
for a little
go.
bit.
No, no. I will say
Well, we
that
did
I
have that footage from earlier.
that my
Let's roll the tape. There we go.
oh, all right.
Have a look.
Yes.
A little bit of humiliation.
So
This
it's
is
not
my-
a hanky. It's a towel.
You didn't get that, did you, Melissa?
That is the laziest thing I've ever seen.
It's just a large handkerchief.
It
don't
is a
drag
towel.
it. What? You blow your nose into a hanky, right?
But it's disgusting.
Well, what is a hanky disgusting?
Yes.
What?
Use a tissue and then get rid of it and never touch it again.
Oh.
Like that is being recycled probably 100 times before you're
It
even
gets
going to wash
washed.
it. Yeah, but after 100 times of using it,
Right, you've never used a hanky in your life?
when I was a kid, but I don't anymore because I have a choice.
Hankies are sort of old school, aren't they?
I think hankies are a bit male and a bit old school.
Because you
and
used to be able to put
probably-
your initials on the monogram, your handkerchiefs. You could snot into your initials.
I
Or
remember
you
my
could-
dad always had one.
Did he have-
Just
did-
walked
I think
around
of
every day with it.
cufflinks when I think of monogrammed adornments for
Cufflinks
clothing.
are good, aren't they? If you've
Unless you're Charlie Sheen and you get given some by Donald Trump.
Oh, I love that story.
Did you love that
I
story?
Love that
Oh,
story.
I don't
Do you know that story?
now.
So when Charlie Sheen, there are two amazing sides to this story. Is that Charlie Sheen was once getting married. Why? And he was
Even he says that though.
and so does she. When he was having he's having a party of sorts,
Yeah,
like I guess an engagement party, and Donald Trump was at this party, and he came up to him and said, "Charlie, I really like you. I like you. You know how he does, that sort of." And he said, "Here, as my gift to you, here, have these cufflinks." And he took his own cufflinks off, and he said, "These are diamonds that have been mined by small children in the mines of South Africa, slaves to the diamond mining companies that the blood diamonds."
Fran's putting a bit of mayo on this.
And they're worth a fortune, but hey, you can have them. So when all things inevitably turned to pot for our Charlie, he had to get all his stuff evaluated and work out how much he was worth because the other half wanted some of it. And when he had the cufflinks evaluated, which he thought were worth a fortune, they were made of cubic zirconia.
Oh, I love
So
that.
the Donald,
They're worth like literally nothing.
the Donald had been to Hamels and had gotten his cufflinks. That says a lot about him, don't you think?
That
Imagine
is
him walking
great.
around with fake cufflinks.
Flashing them
Who's more
around.
cringy, Donald or Pauline?
Donald, much more dangerous.
More dangerous.
Much more dangerous.
Much more
powerful.
influence.
Yeah, and influence. He's been in good form this week too.
But Pauline is very cringeworthy.
She's super cringy. She just embarrasses me as an Australian.
You know what? I don't agree with a thing she says, but I would rather hear her and hear that voice rather than pretending it doesn't exist. And it's an interesting debate because my politics are almost completely opposite to the Hanson view of the world. But I'd rather that we heard that and not be surprised that there's a portion or a section of our population that feels so pissed off with politics and the way life is that they are attracted to that, almost, nasty, horrible, xenophobic attitude and simple solutions to difficult problems. It's better to be heard than to pretend it doesn't exist. So calling for a royal commission into Islam is probably the dumbest thing I've heard in a long time.
Royal Commission into an entire religion.
Yeah, that's a-
really? Where do you start,
Yeah.
Pauline? Which bit should we start with? And have you moved
Probably
forward
won't
at
watch
in any way with because you're very up in the air about your radio commitment
Oh,
because we
yeah.
know you've secured a new job.
Yeah.
Has there been any developments?
Yeah, we're on air soon.
Hey,
We're on air on the 20th of July.
congratulations.
Well,
Thanks.
don't keep it a secret. Who, where, how do
Oh,
we
I don't
listen?
even know if I'm allowed to say that yet.
What do you mean?
Well,
Like
I
it's-
don't
it's-
know.
is this a-
Have you seen them promoting anything?
Is this a public radio station or is
Yeah.
it a secret radio station?
Secret.
What? I'm not allowed to say anything.
I just don't know where it's at. We'll
What's
do
the
it
name
when
of
I'm
What's
ready.
the name of the station?
It's called Eon Sports.
Eon Sports.
Yeah.
Give us your little welcome back. I'm Chatters. Yeah, coming at you. Radio voice live.
That is what I'm going to do.
You got to get an FM kind of Craig Huggins.
Eon
Huggy.
FM. When I was
Eon
a kid, I used
FM.
to listen to Eon FM.
Yeah, so I
In
didn't
the
even know. I've
90s?
learned what that is now. I know all
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got a bit of a history lesson. I'll give you more details maybe next week.
Do you know who your co-host is yet?
Yep, I know who that is.
Oh.
I'm not telling you.
Why not? I know who it is.
Secret Squirrels.
What are you pointing at him for? Does he know?
He's my new co-host.
Oh, Frankie.
We're
think
going
so.
on air
That would-
together.
Imagine that.
Sorry, we had to have the conversation with you off air, but it's just the two of us.
Really? No,
Yep.
That's okay. I've got stuff to do.
You love what you do already, so we didn't want
I
to
do.
interrupt that flow.
Well, speaking of sport that none of you two are interested in, one of the biggest sporting events in the world is happening this weekend in the States, in Las Vegas. Frankie?
Bodybuilding?
The UFC 200.
Ooh.
UFC
Hey, but
200.
old mate's just been done for drugs.
John Jones.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very good.
Saw that on Twitter this morning.
Very good. John Jones.
And he admitted to it.
Was fighting. No, he didn't. He came
Okay.
out and said, no.
Do they have
that's
drug testing at UFC?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very stringent now.
Very
And in fact, they got a guy called Jeff Nowitzki, who was the head of, I think, USADA, who now works for the UFC, and he's full on. Like it's not a token job. He's desperate to find all the dirty athletes, and so TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. One of the things that happens with brain damage, which pretty much most of them have a level of brain damage because they get punched, kicked, kneed in the head. Right.
Sounds great.
It, amongst other things, can and usually does decrease testosterone levels.
Well, being punched in the head a lot.
Yes, yeah, because it fucks with your endocrine system, so hormones.
So you're selling in the beauty of the sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids,
I
go
love
out
it.
there, give it a
yeah,
go.
I love it. As long as I only have to watch it.
You love it, do you?
Oh, I love it.
Okay, let's go. As I would say, let's unpack this.
Yeah, let's break it down.
What do you like about it?
All of it, the violence.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, but the violence.
Because you
You
secretly
like the
want to be
violence.
violent?
No, I don't really.
Brings-
No, I'm being a bit silly. I would love the UFC if there was no striking to the head. So, other than the brain damage, I love it.
Okay.
But
Because
so,
it's a combination of it's every it's boxing, it's kickboxing, it's grappling, it's taekwondo, it's karate, it's Brazilian jiu-jitsu, it's traditional wrestling, and it's those guys are uber athletes.
But if it was like a 5-year-old Craig Harper, would you grow up dreaming of being a UFC fighter?
Maybe
in Morwell, he probably already
Yeah,
would be.
Yeah, probably.
but I do
See what I did there?
agree. Yeah, I did. I saw that. And in Maui, I'd be competing at 6, where I grew up. Hello, Maui. I do agree with you though. It's that I don't mind any of the violence except for the head striking.
So is Ronda Rousey back? When's she fighting?
Ronda Rousey had a really interesting response because she, of course, got beaten in December by Holly Holm.
In Melbourne?
I interviewed her
At
just
Eddie
before that
Had?
fight.
Yeah, head
Like the
kicked.
day before that fight, and she said, "Oh, I've never been kicked in the head. I've never been touched." And she was so surprised.
Who, Ronda Rousey?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I
And-
watched the fight and went, "Oh, gee."
Did you interview her in person or
Yeah, no,
on
she
the
came
phone?
into the studio. Yeah,
Really?
Yeah. And
Oh,
sat down with her. And
yes,
she
I
was
love her.
supremely confident.
Yeah.
And wow, they
Did
were
she
famous last words
look
because
like
she
a
got
machine?
walloped. In terms of her physical stature, she isn't that big as a person. Obviously, she's a magnificent athlete and
Yeah.
a fearsome warrior. But yeah, not physically imposing. But yeah, I felt for her because I thought, she watched the fight out of interest, having spoken to her, and then watched her get clobbered. I thought, oh, gee.
Well, she came from a background of judo, so she's an Olympic judoka.
Yep.
So bronze medalist at the Olympics. Do you
Is
like
that
that?
legit?
Yeah, that's what they're called.
Judoka.
A judoka.
Cool.
And they don't call them a judo fighter; they call them a judo player.
Okay.
So a judoka is someone who's.
Are you a UFC fighter?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's a gun, but what happens in this sport? It's really interesting. So you have people who on the ground or with grappling or wrestling or judo are amazing, but they've never been punched in the face. So Holly Holm is a multiple-time world boxing and kickboxing champion. So if the fight started on the ground, Holly Holm would have very little chance, right? But it doesn't start on the ground. And so when Ronda Rousey gets kicked in the head by the inside of her ankle,
Lights out.
doesn't matter who she's kicking. If anyone gets kicked above the ear, it's all over Red Rover. And so I think she had a sense of invincibility, which quickly evaporated.
I've never seen someone so confident before a fight. I didn't really know much about Ronda Rousey, probably 6 months until she came out to Melbourne. And so then I started to understand what the UFC was and all of that. But I just was like, her arrogance.
The amazing thing was, yes, arrogance. And she went from the golden-haired girl to quite the opposite in a very short time, which that's the fickle nature of fans, especially UFC fans are a little bit like that. But she... Her confidence went through the floor, but the interesting thing about her was that up until that, she was the biggest UFC star in the world. Not biggest female, the biggest UFC. She was the biggest draw card. So that fight in Melbourne was the biggest crowd ever in the history of the UFC, ever.
So did you go?
No.
I find it all the
I
time.
watched it, and I interviewed a girl called Valerie Letourneau, who also fought before... Ronda Rousey, and her then boyfriend, I think still is, Hector Lombard, who also fights in the UFC. And yeah, they're really, really, really interesting people, but it's a violent, tough sport.
It's vertically integrated. That's the thing, isn't it? So it's one competition. It's run by a company. Who's the guy or the woman who's the head of the company?
Dana White.
Dana White. He's the guy that runs the whole thing. And so you almost work as an employee for the UFC. Is that
That's
how it
right.
works?
Yeah,
Whereas
they're
it's
contracted.
which I find really unsettling in a way. It's almost...
That's right. It's not like other sports. There's no union.
Yeah, and there's no sense of I'm an island unto myself, and I will choose to fight you. And we will engage under these rules. It just seems a little bit like a huge marketing push to me, and I find it all a little bit uniform and a little bit McDonald's. To be perfectly honest,
You're exactly right, because the UFC is not the sport. The UFC is that particular organisation that fights within the sport of MMA. So people think UFC, MMA are the same.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? It sort of transitions from being a brand, a bit like the AFL, has now become the brand for the sport. Now, AFL football, Aussie rules football, is much bigger than the AFL, but it is now called AFL.
That's right. People play AFL.
So they almost own.
Isn't it funny
space.
when you break that down? People play Australian Football League.
Yeah.
People play AFL. Well, no, they don't.
No, but the brand has become so big; it's now synonymous for the entire game.
Yeah.
Anyway, I find the sort of McDonald'sization of the sport a little bit creepy. I don't like it.
They also head into territory in the UFC that's a little bit that they can gimmicky. So there's a guy called Brock Lesnar, who he was the world heavyweight champion, real deal. He also came out of the WWE, as in the make believe stuff.
Hey.
Okay,
make-believe.
allegedly make
That
believe.
is a load of shit, that stuff.
But also he was a legitimate wrestler and a legitimate athlete as well. But he stepped away from the WWE into the UFC, which is real, and in 4 fights won a world title.
So can I just stop you down there for a second? How does a guy that's not fought before suddenly become a world champion within 4 fights?
Yeah, because what they do... Well, the thing is, he retired 5 years ago from the UFC. He's coming back now to fight at UFC 200, hasn't fought for 5 years, and he's fighting a guy called, say this slowly, Mark Hunt. And
especially when you got a cold.
And they bring him out because it's pay-per-view. It's massive. It's massive.
Follow the
So
money.
all he has to do is beat the current world champion. Become world champion.
He's not. This is not a world title fight.
Right.
But John Jones, who tested positive for something that we don't know yet at this time of recording.
Can I just ask on that? Do you reckon fans of the UFC give a shit if an athlete tests positive?
No, I think the majority don't. And I think the problem is that there used to be a lot of guys who allegedly used a lot of things.
Yeah.
That now that it's super strict, they look totally different. Like
thought.
they were jacked. There's a guy called Alistair Overeem who won the world heavyweight. Just looked like Mr. fucking Olympia. who could do spinning head kicks. And let's say he doesn't look like that anymore. Which
But are they
may or
doing
may
it
not
for more a
indicate
brand
anything.
thing to say UFC's clean? And is it more because of that? They don't
Trying to
really care.
legitimise the sport.
Well, I
Yeah.
think they are, and I think it's more than just a branding thing because they're actually banning some of their best athletes for 2 and 3 years.
And in that sense, they're ahead of the Olympic movement, which sees Justin Gatlin win the United States 100 metres trial on the weekend and will be running at the Olympic Games after twice having tested positive for using banned drugs. I mean, at the moment, I'm finding it really hard to take the upcoming Olympic track and field
Yeah.
program seriously.
Are Russia in it or not?
Well, this is it.
And track and field aren't.
No, they're not. But there will be some athletes who'll compete under under their own auspices, or not under the Russian flag, and will get dispensation. So we're still waiting to find out how many there will be. But the Russians aren't the only ones who've been cheating. And when you see Gatlin, for instance, running at the Olympic Games, and he's twice been done for drugs, you go, well.
So he's just served his time and he's back.
Yeah, he's back. And, so he gets to go again, and he gets to probably win an Olympic medal. And it's just like, wow, the sport is so riddled with drug use. At a certain point, you go, how do I take any of it for real? And that's a terrible thing that we've gotten. Maybe we've always been there with Olympic track and field because in the 80s it was really bad, and we felt that post Ben Johnson that there was a serious attempt to try to clean it up, but it's just gone full circle again, and now we've got this horrible taint hanging over what should be a great festival of sport. Disappointing, really.
It's very. I think we as a public and as a consumer of sport are very naive about what actually happens with drugs in terms of performance enhancing drugs with power sports.
Yeah.
Something like AFL, you can get away with being clean, and because it's such a mix of endurance and skill, but with things like where it's 1/100th, 2/100ths of a second over 100 metres, and it's just an anaerobic explosive. Like the bigger and stronger and more powerful you are, as long as it's attached to some technique, the better.
So when you look at an Olympic track and field of 100 metres sprinters, do you just presume that everybody is jacked up?
Yep.
Yep, I would too.
Yep.
And it's sad, but it's true.
If the 100-metre final, this Olympics,
Even
this is just my
Bolt?
opinion.
I mean, not that we know, but you would you would find it hard to believe in the.
Well, I tell you, my only disclaimer for Usain Bolt is I saw Usain Bolt running in the under 15 world champs when he was 14, and he didn't look that much different. So he I think there are some guys who have an unnaturally high testosterone level. And that's a real thing, just like some have an unnaturally low. Maybe he's a freak. If there's somebody that is just a genetic freak, I think it might be him. But this is only my opinion, and I've been around a lot of people who've taken drugs in my life, a lot of people who've taken steroids and growth hormone and testosterone and a range of things. I've been around bodybuilders a lot. So I'd be very comfortable if you put 10 bodies in front of me and 5 were on steroids and 5 were not on steroids.
You could pick it.
I bet my house I'll tell you which are on steroids. My house, right?
Wow.
I'll tell you which are on steroids and which are not on steroids. And
can you live tweet during all
I'll
the
have
finals,
a look at
please?
the Olympic final.
That would be great.
I'll have a look at the Olympic final and I'll tell you if I think there's any that might be clean. That's my opinion, but
and isn't
it's
it
just
sad
different.
that like Australian athletes who we think are clean or generally clean must think the only way I'm ever going to win that or get anywhere near the final is to cheat?
Yeah.
And that's the problem with when people say, well, why don't we let them all cheat? Well, you go, well, okay. So, and this is the whole thing, if we take it back to the Essendon thing, which is the philosophy, I should say, around why it's not okay. So if you're an athlete, and the Tour de France plays this out as well, and you've trained as a junior and you're really talented, and you will get to a fork in the road as an athlete, and a lot of the cyclists and the tour teams get to it where they go, okay, I want to be the best in the world. I like competing against the best. Well, you've got a choice to make when you join our team. If you want to ride in the tour, there's only one way to do that. That's to join our team. And for you to compete, you
have to do it
to be on the program, as it was called with US Postal or whichever team that Armstrong was doing with at the time. And so therefore, the culture of the sport is fundamentally changed, and you have to be a cheat to compete. And that's why it was so important to hammer down hard on the Essendon thing. So if they normalised that regime at the Essendon Football Club, you could be playing TAC Cup, you could be playing everything, you get drafted, and then you get confronted with the issue, well, if you want to be an AFL footballer, what we're doing now, and because it would have been, if it hadn't been pulled up, it would have been standardised across the competition, because monkey see, monkey do to compete, as it is with any other form of drug cheating. Young boys would have been confronted with the option, you can play AFL football, but the only way to do that is to allow yourself to be exposed to this regime of injections and these supplements and whatever the hell else you're taking, or else you don't get to play because you won't be able to compete. And that's just that's an awful position to put anyone in. And it's really important that even though we might be pissing on a bushfire to try to stop it, that we do try to stop it, because else we might as well just give our sports over to the chemists.
Yeah.
What would be the point of that?
Yeah.
I
don't
agree
want that.
and disagree. I'll tell you why I disagree.
Okay.
Right? I agree. I agree with the idea, and you're right. But the whole environment of a professional sporting club, with the training, with the nutrition, with everything other than playing, is about performance enhancement, isn't it? That's why you train. That's why you lift weights, to enhance performance. That's why they have supplements. They still have, Brett Harvey's got his own drink, which is meant to have some therapeutic or performance-enhancing benefits, right?
It's a
Which
pre-workout.
I can tell you it's got no
Shots?
taste benefits. It's a shocker.
No, yeah.
Right.
But I mean, the quandary or the dilemma is that everything that they do is about, why do they train at altitude? Because it increases hematocrit, so it increases their oxygen carrying capacity of their blood, gives them more endurance, so it enhances performance, but it's legal. It does a similar thing to EPO or melonium or whatever that other thing, meldonium, which sounds like something from a TV show or something. But they all do similar things, but one's legal, and the one that's legal is altitude training, right? But they have a similar physiological effect on the blood. That is, they increase endurance. So too with if you want to take some kind of stimulant like Sudafed or any of those,
They're banned now, aren't they?
they're banned,
Yeah,
right?
they are.
Caffeine, not banned. What does it do? It's a stimulant. It's nervous system stimulant.
Yeah.
Switches on your sympathetic nervous system, creates a response, decreases reaction time, increases mental alertness and acuity, blah, 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 right? It's not banned. So athletes use it. AFL players use it, I'm sure.
I used it.
You used it.
Absolutely. I was shattered that Sudafed was out.
Is
off
it
the list.
performance enhancing? Yes. Is it legal? Yes. So they used it. So the thing is it a drug? It's a drug. But we pigeonhole, we go, no, that's no good. Oh, that is though, because someone says that's okay.
Yeah.
And it does the same as that pretty much. But that's okay because somebody somewhere goes tick, somebody somewhere goes cross, right?
But there are health implications. I don't think you can draw the same level of comparison to, say, high altitude training to using EPO, which when you put it in your blood might thicken your blood, and you might end up like Marco Pantani, who used to have to get out of bed in the middle of the night with a heart rate monitor on as a cyclist, the great Italian mountain climber, because his blood would thicken so much that his heart rate would go off, and he'd have to get on a stationary bike
They all did.
and start pedaling to get his
Or
heart
they'd
going to
die.
make sure his blood didn't turn to concrete.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Because that's the level of escalation you get to
Yeah.
when you start going on that path towards using different drugs. You can train at as high as many mountains as you like, but you can only do a certain amount of it. But if you get into an arms race when it comes to drugs, then where's the end? Where is the end?
And
I
no one
agree
knows
with
how
you,
they're
but
gonna
the
be
thing is
later.
that who makes all the decisions about this stuff? Who who decides? Well, your ankle's stuffed, Bianca. You can't run. You can't weight bear. But if I inject you with this legal painkiller, you can now go back out and play. You can play now. You couldn't play 5 minutes
Well,
ago.
I have a massive issue with that too. Listen to me, but I do. I don't know why painkillers are allowed in competition.
Well, what it does, it allows you to override the information your
which is
body's
wrong.
sending you to go and do something that without a drug you can't do.
Yeah, same like
we haven't-
anti-inflammatories.
But we're morally okay with that. We have this stance, and it's like even with, even with men, I'm not talking about myself here, but middle-aged men doing testosterone versus middle-aged women doing estrogen. There's this big kind of, if a guy wants to do any kind of anti-aging thing, they're middle-aged
What can you
wankers.
do?
Why don't we do a test on you?
No, but let me tell you what's going to happen in the next 10 years is you will
It's a
see.
bit late for me.
No, it
No,
won't.
it's not.
It won't be.
Let's bring your age right back
See,
down to
here-
your 30s.
Here's the thing is that but with all of this stuff, there's a lot of misinformation. So when somebody says steroid, they go, oh, he's on a steroid. Well, there's good and bad steroids. There's anabolic and non-anabolic steroids, and there's a million different kinds. And I'm not
Cortisone
saying
that we
cortisone is a steroid.
jabbed into
Your
our
body
joints.
produces its own steroids. You know, your body produces testosterone. But if Francis's testosterone is through the floor, right, and for whatever reason, see, when you've got very low testosterone as a bloke, so cognitive function declines, you basically have zero sex drive, muscle mass drops off, bone density drops off, there's an emotional impact, depression often associated as well. So all they have to do is prescribe guys who suffer from that some testosterone, if that's what they're deficient in, and generally there'll be a positive shift, which is just adjusting their hormones to a level which is healthier.
Which is back to normal.
Which is what we do with women. But the problem is they go, oh, well, you're a 50 or a 55 or a 60-year-old male, that level's normal. Yeah, it is normal, but it's not healthy. It's like going, oh, your thyroid isn't working. It's not producing thyroxine as it should, so we're not going to prescribe you any, though, because it's just broken. You know, like there's just all this messiness around hormones and drugs, and I'm no guru in it, but I just think, you know, there are certain cases for, you know, if guys want to take creatine, they can, and it enhances performance for some people. It's a supplement, it's not a drug. Why isn't it a drug? Because it doesn't meet certain criteria. What criteria? Who made does it grow on trees? No, it's synthetically produced. What's a drug? It's synthetically produced. So it's just a messy minefield of philosophical and psychological kind of issues around, as well as the physiological, about, oh, this is okay because we think this, and this is not okay because it's in that category.
So is it what, a board of people that sit around and go yes, no, yes, no, yes, no?
I don't know.
Well, the wider banned list would have some doctors and would be the people that come up with a list of banned substances.
I used to get so sick of every year, like January, they'd be like, all right, these are the new things on the list that you can't take. And one year, like caffeine would be on it, next year it wasn't on it, then pseudoephedrine, then it'd be back on, then it'd be back
Tell us
off.
how
And it
you
was
took
so
caffeine.
ridiculous.
How did you take caffeine?
I would take it pre-game. So our doctors would say to us that you'd get a positive effect from caffeine if you don't have a lot of it during the week. So you kind of go off it during the week, and then you'd have a hit of it. And I would usually have I'd have about 2 no-dose tablets.
Right. How many milligrams of, I don't know, is that like?
I couldn't tell you. I think it'd be like having 2 coffees or something.
So you'd have 2 no-dose tablets.
Yeah, whereas the footy boys, they'd have 6 or 7. So that for me, because I never touched really caffeine other than my green tea during the week, then I would feel that. And I loved it as a defender, but the shooters, they wouldn't touch it because they didn't want to be like up and about and a bit anxious.
They might be taking beta blockers, wouldn't they? They'd be more interested in taking those.
I don't think they were.
No.
Steady
No,
hands.
that's right. Not unless they were shooting as well as shooting.
But the most annoying part of it all is like when you with your man flu and your towel on your lap.
It's a
because you
real
can't
flu. It's a
cope.
real flu.
When you're in that situation, you couldn't take anything to make yourself feel better and feel back to normal. So you couldn't have Sudafed.
Well,
And so that was
if you had a man towel with you, you would have been 20% better.
A monogram.
Just carry it around, tuck it into my bra when I'm playing, and just pull it out. Is that what you're saying?
A monogrammed man towel, like it just like with his
Vixen's branded.
Vixen's brand. Just drag it out and give it a big honk.
But that's the whole annoying thing, is that you
In the
can't
middle of
take
the
stuff
game.
when it just is going to make you feel better. Yet my last couple of years, I survived on anti-inflams because I couldn't have got up in the morning and trained had I not had one the night before.
That can't be good for you, can it?
It's terrible for you. So I was kind of, by the end, I was like, thank God I can just stop taking this stuff because I knew it wasn't good.
Is that the best part about retirement? Is just being able to do
Yes.
take
whatever I want and not even think about it. Not even ask the doctor or pharmacist or anyone, what the hell are you giving me?
Just give me it all.
Yeah, it's crazy though. I just think we're very lucky here in Australia because culturally you learn a lot about drugs in sport and that it's just not accepted or never was accepted in netball. So that's just the way we've always been. Very proactive on it and never taken anything that anyone's just given us.
Do you ever used a recreational drug, Frankie?
Yeah, plenty.
What?
Oh, tell us
Over
about
the
them.
years, yeah.
I've never used one.
Oh, I
No.
grew up in the music industry for, like a
Never.
Triple J and whatnot. Yeah, so there was a range of experimentation that went on back
Really?
in the day.
Any
Yeah.
LSD?
Yes.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Really?
Oh yeah,
Well,
I
it's
picked
such a
that a little
sheltered
bit of.
life.
I picked that a little bit of hallucinogenic
What was your
action.
favourite?
I'm not going to go into the details.
Did you have any? Just because I've been listening to Russell Brand, who's just hilarious.
Still, or that 3 hour one.
I've been listening to some different. I find him fascinating. Weird, but fascinating. Have you ever had any in any of your? And I know you're way past that phase of your
Very
life,
much so.
but upon reflection,
Yes.
did you ever have any moments where the physiological consequent collided with the spiritual?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. What did that look like?
He's
Well,
trying
you
not
would-
to answer, and
Well,
you're trying
you
to.
would have moments where you felt like you were seeing or listening with a different sort of clarity.
Yeah.
And a stillness. Yeah, absolutely.
Good description.
And you would have moments where your visual perception will be altered significantly, and it's not always good. I'm not recommending it at all for anyone because some people do have a very bad experience. But you could, it could be a very reflective period if you found yourself in the right environment.
Did it give you a level of awareness or clarity about anything that when you came back to Earth, you then did something about?
No, I never had an epiphany moment like that.
Right.
No, I never had that experience. But you know what? I mean, for some people they do, but also for some people it causes great damage as well. So
That's
that's
right.
the other side. I'm not pretending that the use of hallucinogenic drugs is good for you because it's a huge gamble when I look back on it. Because some people do get very badly damaged by their experience. It's a bit of a lottery. You don't know how your brain is going to react.
That's
I
true.
came out of it okay, but it wasn't.
So you think?
Yeah,
We need to chat
I'm
to
not
you.
the one sitting here with a towel on my lap. It's not me.
That's exactly right. The unhealthy one in the room is the one over
But
there.
yes, I did have that experience in my rock and roll years, Craig.
And B, you've never done anything. You've
No.
never had a
No.
joint. You've never. Have you
Never
been
smoked.
drunk? You've been drunk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a drug. Well, I guess it is.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
damn well
Alcohol is
it
probably a
is.
drug.
Come on.
Kind of a drug,
Just
alcohol.
Oh, yeah, drinking. But I've never tried any actual recreational drugs.
Yeah.
I know. Sheltered lifestyle.
Wowza.
There
I
you
was
go.
listening to a before we go.
What
I know we've
about
got to
you?
wind up. No,
Oh.
no.
Come on. He still
I
can't.
thought he was drilling me because he was
No,
like,
no.
you loser.
But the more I listen, the more I wouldn't. But I'm not strongly opposed to, to people. I wouldn't suggest it or recommend it. But I think if people want to, their own body, their own time, their own whatever, if they want to smoke dope, or I don't want to smoke dope, but if somebody does, I go, well, as long as you're not making anyone else, or as long as you're not blowing it over me, I don't care.
I would have this fear that I'd get addicted. I'd try it once and I'd be like, "Oh, I love this. I want to keep doing it."
Well, that is often the problem for people that they
Yeah.
start down that track. But the other thing about it, I look at it now and go, I just haven't got the time to waste.
Oh, see, maybe that's the problem. Maybe
I
you
mean,
do need
just-
to waste some time.
No,
mate.
I'd rather ride my bike or,
He's come to the healthy side.
do
We should
that.
be encouraging that.
Yeah, like I just look at it now
Hashtag
and go,
Fitspo.
Yes.
Welcome,
Hashtag,
Frankie.
hashtag angry white pajamas.
yeah, I've come too far the other way, haven't I? I bought new
good.
shoes for my bike this week. So
Oh,
it's
yeah?
sort of- yeah.
How many falls have you had with your clip-ons?
Oh, I've only had a couple. They're not good.
Mine are always
I
when
don't
I'm
like that. at
pretty
all.
much stationary,
Yeah,
and I forget.
not good.
And I'm like, bang.
Yeah. Not good when that
How
happens.
ridiculous.
The other
Well-
one that I worry about in Melbourne is occasionally getting caught in the tram tracks, and
yep.
I've had that a few times,
Yeah, I've
and I
done
really
that
don't
too.
enjoy that.
You know what you need? You need a dragster with a high riser handlebars and the sissy bar and the banana seat. You don't have those
I
problems.
had that as a 10-year-old when I got a red Malvern Star dragster for my birthday.
Three on
when
the
I was
tree?
10. I loved it.
Did it have a stick shifter or was it
No,
fixed
had
wheel?
had the stick shift
Oh,
on
yeah.
it.
You
It was
missed
the
out.
best thing ever.
I did.
You
It
grew
was
up in-
heavy though. Like I think of it now, it was like riding around on a brick. But back in 1978, wacko.
Yeah. Well, you and I just preceded the BMX
With
era.
the tufts.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That was probably more your go, was it?
Were you a
At
BMX bandit?
Was
No,
that before you?
That was before
What were
me.
you
Really?
riding around on?
Just a normal bike, you
Just
know?
a bike.
Just a bike.
Uh,
I can't even give you many details. That's such a boy thing
Bikes.
to care about that. Yeah.
It's not.
It
Tell Anna Mears that.
I
Anna Mears
can't
is going to
imagine
be
you
carrying the
ever-
flag. Morning,
I can't
Anna.
imagine you being a girly girl when you were in your teens.
A girly girl. Yeah, I probably was.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
I'm pretty sure not.
What were you into? What
like
was
I
it-
was sporty,
Yeah.
but like I still loved like fashion and makeup and all of that. I was
So
right
my
into
my
that.
daughter Evie turned 14 yesterday. The
Oh, yeah.
14-year-old Bianca, what was your thing?
What was my thing?
Like, was it a particular brand of
Actually, I rode
clothing? or-
horses. I was
Oh,
riding
you
to
were
horse
horsing.
riding. Yeah, we had a horse.
Pony Club.
That's right. We would show the horse as well. Go to gymkhana.
You did have a monogrammed handkerchief. Did you ever do
Saddle
dressage?
blanket.
Did you?
No, I never did dressage. Never. But did like little show jumping and.
Oh wow! See, can we just
Did you
finish
know that
up?
about me?
Look, with Olympic Games, my secret thing about the Olympics that I do love is I do love eventing.
Yeah, the
That's it's the
equestrian.
only time I ever watch it.
Yeah.
But when they're trotting around and jumping over the jumps inside this small confined area,
Yeah.
I do find myself thoroughly absorbed. Oh, don't hit that one, don't!
Yeah.
You know, I do find that.
And when they're under time.
Yes,
constraints.
I do enjoy it.
Exciting.
Pony Club.
Oh, we should go for a
Was
ride
that the
one
only time you ever watched
That's
that?
the
Olympics?
only time that I ever watch it, but I do find myself looking forward to it.
Shani Layton, who plays for Diamonds, she's like this intimidating defender, like so strong. Like she's into dressage, so she
really?
yeah,
Sitting up
she's
proper.
a dressage horse down on the peninsula in
With all due
Melbourne.
respect, she's quite tall, right?
yeah.
She would
She's
be
the
Well,
Yeah.
her horse, we rode it over summer. It's like 17 and a half hands.
Wow.
So it's enormous. And it's really wide. Like, it's a massive horse. Because it has to be, because it's so tall. But, yeah, she's riding to
Does she?
prancing.
So she will ride the horse. She will get dressed in full kit, and
Yeah. And
she-
she'll was
she'll
trying
look
to tell me, like, the
magnificent on the
triggers,
horse,
like how
yeah.
you can
So
get them
she-
to step in
wow.
different ways. And I was like, oh, my God, this is a whole new thing for me. But she was incredible at it.
there you go.
She had to make the decision whether to go to Germany and kind of continue her equestrian career or
wow.
to choose to play netball.
Could she possibly? Because I know Andrew Hoy has only just announced last week that he won't be going to his 8th Olympic Games. I don't think he made the team at the age of 54, twice Olympic gold medalist. She could probably have a go at it after she's
She could
finished
easily.
netball.
She'd be probably in her early 30s
There
when she retires.
wouldn't be too many dual internationals who've done netball and dressage.
I would be surprised if she tries it.
Natural fit, though.
Yeah, natural fit.
What else would go together?
There you go.
Yeah.
Should we wind this baby up?
We should.
We've got to go and watch Spinal Tap. Now, that's your homework for next week. You've got to watch it.
It'll be on the internet, won't it? It'll be on the
I
interwebs.
don't know where else we're going to get it from.
I'll just YouTube it.
Yeah.
Just watch a bit of
Spinal Tap.
it. Spinal Tap.
It
Okay.
better be good. I'll have a look at it just for you.
Funny movie. Funniest
I
rock
can't
movie.
guarantee I will, but I'll try.
I'll send you a link.
Okay.
I'll lend you some LSD. Take it and watch it. Be amazing. Blow your mind.
I'll lend you some crunchy peanut butter.
Okay, cool. Thanks, guys.
And if you want to borrow this,
Oh, no.
You will be tripping if you look at that. I
I'm
mean,
going to put that antibacterial gel in my
I've only
hands when I
blown
walk
it
out of
about
here.
9 times.
Oh, yuck.
that is it.
Why am I single? I don't know.
That is
Can't get a girl because...
You have your man towel hanging around.
Craig Harper. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Bianca Chatfield. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
This has been another edition of We've Got Nothing.